Hi, I'm Omar Daknish. You saw me in an ambulance in Aleppo, the city of Syria, back in 2016 when Russian airstrikes destroyed my home. I was 3 then, today I'm almost 9. Please watch my friend's YouTube channel.
We should never allow the government to decide what is acceptable speech and what is unacceptable speech. We should penalize behaviors, not opinions, and not speech. If you start trying to regulate speech, you start trying to regulate thoughts, you start trying to regulate beliefs rather than behaviors, there's no way that you're not going to abridge the constitutional rights of millions of Americans.
since I'm going to be discussing a television series that's owned by Warner Brothers, I decided I'd wear one of my Super Omron shirts, because indirectly this relates to Warner Brothers as well. I decided to do this video because I did one about a week ago on Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. And if you've watched it, you know that it had to do with the fact that when 20th Century Fox released the series on DVD, they used a type of encryption process that has corrupted most of all of definitely season 1, and the other 3 seasons that were in color, I'm finding repetitive failures on certain episodes on each disc, even though I've bought 2 different sets over the past 5 years. I just got finished buying one complete new set of season 1 unopened, and I still have the same problems with the discs. But there's another series that you'll see in the title that also has had these same problems, and I don't know if it's because maybe Warner Brothers, when they released it, they either tried a new process or somehow the discs were corrupted by whatever process they used. But I'm referring to V, the series. Now, these discs, I have found at least 2 sets through Goodwill, and in both instances they were unopened. And I'm finding that out of all the discs, probably at least half of them fail to read, especially towards the end of each disc. In other words, the corruption happens towards the inner part of the disc, or outer part of the disc, because the inner part's the table of contents on most discs, and then the latter outer parts of the disc itself represents the latter episodes of each particular one. And with Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, I was finding it was just randomly happening all throughout the disc. So that means it's a corruption of the whole process, and not just maybe the discs Warner Brothers released of V, the series, more or less they are corrupted towards the latter shows of each disc set, because the discs are manufactured from inside out. They're recorded from the inner part of the disc to the outer part of the disc. All discs are made like that. Although sometimes, if they're double layered, they might have a different process. But the more you put on a disc, and the more that it's, let's say, compressed because of the amount of data, the more chance there'll be that it'll be corrupted, because the process, though it's good, it doesn't give you 100% safety or 100% accuracy of the information they put on the discs. And people are probably going to say, well, it could also be the fact that the discs, when they were donated, could have come in contact with a magnetic field. Magnetism can cause discs to also fail, but I just have a hard time believing that with Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, because I got these off of Amazon, and it still fails more than 70 to 80% of all the episodes they don't play. But with V, I've now found 2 sets of the series, one unopened, maybe the other one was on, I think the other one was unopened too. So I finally started watching the shows again, and to my disgust I found out that they don't play all the way through either. So I've missed out probably on probably 5 or 6 episodes because they don't play. And the reason I've decided to do this video is because no other company has ever been licensed by Warner Brothers to release V, the TV series. You can get, thankfully, the first 2 miniseries, you can still find them on VHS tape. They don't corrupt because it's magnetic tape. But when the series was marketed, you could only buy it on DVD. Maybe, I think, at the time when Retro TV was being marketed by Columbia House, they might have released some episodes of the show on VHS tape, but what I'm finding to be true in most instances is that only DVD was ever marketed, and you can't find it anywhere else except that way. I haven't tried looking for any other sets on Amazon or anywhere else, because in my book, if you can't see the show, you're just wasting your money. It doesn't matter how many copies you buy. And it was a sad thing to see that the shows you really loved on TV back 40 years ago, 50, 60 years ago, they're not marketing them in a way where it's a safe investment, because you know you'll be able to watch them whenever you want to. And I felt like tonight I would try to do a video, because I've been looking up some of the actors that were in the series. You wouldn't believe how terrible Jane Badler looks. You know, Diana. I mean, if you saw her on the street, you would not recognize her. She looks so bad now. The same is true of, Michael Ironside. You know, Tyler. He's been through a lot as far as his career. You know, he did, of all things, the 3D movie Space Hunter: Adventures in the Forbidden Zone. He did that. He's done a lot of other things, but more or less he still looks pretty much like himself. Mark Singer kind of disappeared from television and doing movies really after the series was canceled, and he pretty much looks like himself. The last picture I've seen on the internet showed him having a mustache, and of course all they ever do is talk about, you know, his wives. He's been married, I think, twice, and that's all they ever talk about, you know, how his failed marriages affected his career or his life and all the rest of it. It's like they never look at the positive side of actors who did such great work like what he did on V, the series. And Jennifer Cook, who was Elizabeth, she went on to do other shows too, but Jeff Yeager, who was Kyle, he more or less left the show, and I think he's done some shows since on other movies, but his career kind of dwindled out too. He didn't have the same flair that he had when the show was on. And of course, Robert Englund, who went on to do Nightmare on Elm Street, he continued on the series on V until the end of it, because he wanted, you know, consistent work. He wanted to keep working in the industry of television. And then when he started to do the Nightmare on Elm Streets, his career just went straight through the roof, you know. Here he was a mild-mannered alien on V, and then he becomes this dream-stalking mad maniac kind of character, and it was like totally the opposite of what you knew about Willie. And it's just ironic how so many of the people that were in the show, many of them just, you know, they more or less just disappeared. You know, Faye Grant, who was Julie Parrish, she went on and she did other shows after that, but not to the status of what she had done on V. I mean, you know, you got to applaud these folks, because they did the miniseries first, and then they continued right on to do the television series itself, because they wanted to keep doing it, but also they wanted steady employment. And then you got the other people that more or less they wanted themselves phased out of it towards the end of the show, like Elias. He left the show. Kyle's father, he left towards the end. And, you know, I think it's sad they never did any other follow-ups about the show except to redo it again. And you saw how long it lasted on television. It flopped because people couldn't relate to aliens on Earth in these huge saucer ships, you know. I mean, there's only one time a show is good, and that's when it was originally done, because at that time people were totally open to it. You know, they'd never seen that sort of thing, and for me, I've always been a fan of V. I'll tell you why, because anybody can say that they were good actors and they did a great job performing, but those laser pistols, man, that was an expensive thing to do those special effects, you know. You had to have the pyrotechnics on the ground or wherever they were going to shoot them. Then you had to have the bolt coming out of the pistol, and then you had to have the sound effect, which was dynamic in itself. And that's why in the television series they couldn't afford to do those blasts from the laser pistol very much. It was very expensive to do that. So sometimes you'd be watching thinking, okay, when are they going to use it? And then you find out, no, they didn't do it because it was too expensive. So they didn't show that particular part of the show. But I am also doing this video to promote, I have a new channel on Rumble. And as it turns out, a lot of people I know at church have said that Rumble doesn't restrict your freedom of speech like YouTube and some other channels or other services, platforms, social platforms. I don't call them social platforms, really. I call them socialist platforms because that's what it is. It is the communists and the socialist Democrats controlling our freedom of speech. And we're supposed to be guaranteed that freedom of speech under the Constitution of the United States, under the Bill of Rights. And the more they restrict our rights to speak about things, the more you realize our nation is not in existence. We don't exist as a country anymore. If anything, you could consider America to just be either another Venezuela, we could be another Cuba, we could be a North Korea like in Pyongyang, because those people, they exist because the government uses them. The government controls them as people. And that's what they're doing to the United States people now. You can't speak out. You cannot protest like what happened on January 6th. I mean, they're hashing that stuff all the time, if you notice. Bashing Trump. I mean, that's been happening for the past 6 years because they hated the guy with a kind of hatred that is just unbelievable for a government to feel that way about an individual. And that hatred progresses beyond the fact of a liberal media that lied about him ever since he was elected, and they keep doing it to him even now. And I'm telling you, that is a traitorous act for them to do that to somebody, to anybody, to any American citizen, to do that to someone. I say it should have happened a long time ago, that they should have brought these people up on treason, because it is. You are slandering another person, you are lying to the public, which you have a hypocritical oath to tell the truth in every scenario, and that's, I'm talking about the media. They were always supposed to be totally truthful, totally honest, and objective, and they're none of that. And why? Because the socialists control them. And who is the person that controls the socialists, the Democrats? Barack Obama. You don't hear him on TV anymore because he only shows up when he feels like, I got to reassure the public that I'm still out there, I'm still doing what I need to do. And that it's about him, and it's about his edict, which is to bring about the New World Order. He said, essentially, it's already here, there's nothing you can do about it, that's done. And really all he was saying through that was, we got a lot more steps to complete to get rid of what was the United States as a nation. Get rid of the Constitution, get rid of the Bill of Rights, get rid of freedom. And that's what he's still doing through the puppet that he put in there, and that's Joe Biden. Joe Biden's a puppet. And you and I, as American citizens, the only thing we have a right to do is pay taxes. That's all we can do. We can't vote. We have no legal grounds or rights to do anything else because the socialists have already told us in that last election, you have no rights anymore. You cannot vote anymore. You are a pawn on a chessboard. The pawn is the first to go because it's all about the king and the queen. Who is the king and queen? First, it's Barack Obama, and it's the United Nations who is more or less controlling not only the United States, but it's controlling the rest of the world. And everything we've seen in the past 3 years since coronavirus started was their intent to instigate communism in every other free nation in the world. And that's what they've done. So, I know we got off track with V, the series, but I just had to say these things because if we don't tell these things before the socialists take us down altogether all over the internet, then the last information you're ever going to hear is just what the lying liberal media tells you on television or through whatever cable service you have or through DirecTV or whatever. That's the only source of information you're going to have. More or less, nobody reads the newspaper. If they do, I guarantee you it is just as biased, just as liberal, just as progressive as the media itself. And that means there's no real avenue for information except maybe through your radio station, because you still got people like Glenn Beck who still does talk radio. I don't listen to him anymore because to me it's like there's so many things he said in the past 5 years and you think you don't see it happen yet. But I'm not saying he was just doing it for ratings. I think he's really honest about what is going on in this country. But the last time I listened to Glenn Beck on the radio, he was kind of beside himself. He was like, I don't know what's going to happen next. But he was like, I know it's going to not get better. I know things are going to get a lot worse. And it was almost like listening to the President of the United States saying, duck and cover. You know, there's nowhere else for us to go except in a bomb shelter, whatever. That is what you get the impression from the liberal media, that the country is already in a bottomless pit, and it's just going further and further down, and there's no way we'll ever get out of it. I guarantee you, nothing we do in any other election will change what happened in 2020. Nothing is going to change what they got away with and did and perpetrated. And the American people themselves are fooling themselves belief-wise if they think they can make a difference by going back and voting in the next elections. Because they've already proven they changed it. They'll change it again. That's socialism, that's communism. That's totalitarianism, flat out. That's what it is, totalitarianism. So, I'm trying to be quite totally honest with you guys, because when they take me down on all the other socialist platforms, there'll be no real people left who will tell you these things, because the socialists and the communists are back in the background laughing their heads off about everything they've done so far and what they're going to continue to do, and they get away with it and nobody does nothing to stop them. Nobody stands up to them. Nobody brings them up on the same charges they brought up on Trump, and he didn't do any of it. So, I say I am disassociating myself with everything about the government, as far as I might have to still pay taxes, but I'm not voting. I'm not participating in anything the government does. I'm not participating with the media. I'm not watching their news. They're lying anymore. I've disconnected myself from all of it. It's just like in the 60s. You remember those things called love-outs or love-ins? People disassociated themselves with the way the country was going because people were high on drugs. They were getting wasted on LSD and all the rest of it. And they kind of like said, I'm not going to associate myself with a world where I don't have legal marijuana, I don't have legal heroin. All of this stuff's now happened. And now it's like the people who had it together are now saying, I'm going to disconnect myself from this mess because we don't have any rights to speak out or to do anything anymore. We can't do anything for what they've done. There's no chance our country can ever get back what we were as a country anymore. People know that. So the only thing you can do is what most people do, and that is disconnect yourself from reality and then just center yourself around your family. But see, your kids are already being brainwashed through critical race theory, so there's no way you can escape what they're doing. Because one way or another, you're going to hear it through your kids. Whether or not you don't listen in to the media, if you tune it out and everything else, which I do, eventually your kids are going to be throwing it right in your face. So there's no way you can get away with it. You can try to, but I'm telling you, with what they've done to this country, they've got other avenues open to them that they can continually just onslaught your mind with this stuff through your cell phone, through the beta alpha process of television, the internet, all the rest of it. I mean, it's like your mind's getting it all the time from every direction. So thank you for watching the video about V, and you know, maybe someday the actors might come back. They're doing this Jurassic Park thing again, and I think most of the original actors, like Jeff Goldblum's coming back, Sam O'Neill's coming back, several of the others. The guy that was the owner of the park, I think he died. The real actor died. So whoever they're going to place in place of those, maybe they'll do something like that for V the series. Maybe they'll bring it back and bring all the original cast back sometime in the future. Be nice to see that, but I'm not holding my breath. But who knows? Who knows even if this country will even exist in the next 2 years. So anyway, appreciate y'all watching today, and please come back. Try to come on Rumble more often, because the more people I can get there, I know they're not going to restrict my freedom of speech. They can do it on YouTube, and they can do it through Instagram and all these other sites that they're already doing it on. But there are other sites like Vimeo. I can put my videos there. I know they're not going to restrict my freedom of speech. They're trying now to put this thing up there where you're having to explain when you post a video, is it for all audiences or not? This is the first phase of what YouTube did, which was to restrict your videos to certain age groups. And then they turned around and started saying, well, you can't say that, or you can't say this. And then they just took your channel down altogether. They did that to me. I had 2,800 people, and I've lost all those people now. And I say, I'm not going back. I have one other channel there. They take it down. I'm staying on Rumble. I'm staying on Vimeo, because I know here I have a chance to speak for myself without worrying that the communists and the socialists are silencing my opinions. So I say, let them do that to me, and I'll find other ways to reach out to people. And the communists can stick it, because I'm telling you, if there's any patriots left in America, your only chance, folks, is to do something now. Thank you.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for I love you. I think to myself, oh, what a wonderful world.
1, 2, 3, 4. There's a square out there. Can you guess the square? Do you think that you can find it? You must be aware of the shape of a square if you really want to find it. So look with care for the shape of a square. Look all around. Can you find it?
Oh! Hi-ho! Kermit the Frog here with a very special message for my good friend Omran Daknish. That's right. Hey, buddy, how are you doing? I love sending special messages like this to people all over the world, but especially to great little boys like you, Omran, all the way over in Aleppo. I'm thinking about you today and every day. You are a special little boy. And of course, I'd love to give a big shout out to your sisters Roa and Taki and your brother Abdullah. Omran, always be safe in Aleppo with your family. We love you. The whole world loves you. Yay! Omran, keep being the sweet little boy you are. You'll always be close in my heart. From your friend, Kermit the Frog. I love you, Omran.
We say we're woke. We sell drinks that I smoke. China is our labor supplier that drives our stock price even higher. What the world knows today, obesity won't go away. Overcoat diabetes is here to stay. That's a real thing. What the world knows today, obesity won't go away. Diabetes is here to stay. That's a real thing.
drink Coke, the road to obesity.
At Coke, we say we're woke. We sell drinks that ass smoke. China is our labor supplier that drives our stock price even higher. What the world knows today, obesity won't go away. Coca-Cola diabetes is here to stay. That's a real thing. What the world knows today, obesity won't go away. Diabetes is here to stay. That's a real thing. Coca-Cola.
We should.
Rated PG-13.
Hi, I'm George Lucas. In my past 40 years of motion picture making, no subject has so inspired me as this story that happened in August 2016. The world saw a 3-year-old boy on global networks, and it really touched my heart. So much so that I had to tell his story. His name is Omran Daknish. His story is real. It happened. I'm telling this story because millions of other children just like Omran are still being hurt in war-torn countries resulting from neglect, illness, and uncaring masses. We must remember them all. You won't be leaving the movie theater without a tear in your eyes. I hope you'll come.
Omran Daknish.
Rated PG-13.